In other news, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro chose to steer his speech at the UN General Assembly on Monday away from the protracted border dispute with Guyana. As we reported on Tuesday, President Maduro justified the increase in Venezuelan troops at their borders as an attempt to clamp down on narco-trafficking. This was contrary to assertions by Guyanese President David Granger, who used his presentation on Monday to belabor Venezuela's aggression. President Maduro used his opportunity in front of the United Nations to plead with the Council to address other ills.
Are people ready to build a new alliance of peace today? This was a point was made by President Putin. Are we ready to make a new alliance for peace? And the non-permanent members would like to make a proposal so that we can discuss and how we can help and protect the people of Syria. There has been financing and arming from the West, and this has just led to death and destruction in Syria. And the people in Europe, there is a humanitarian tragedy. And now Europe feels that the tragedy is going to affect them. But the United Nations must react. The United Nations must take some action in response to the absolute horror and tragedy that is occurring in Syria. The strategic failure of these 4 wars relates to what is being done in the Security Council, the inability of the United Nations to act. There has been intervention to create war, to sow terror, to sow death and devastation among peoples. And these people are then presented as somehow being undesirable or hostile or just the enemy.
In his speech to the UN Assembly on Tuesday, the Venezuelan president criticized the U.S. for their continued embargo on Cuba and spoke to the wars going unchecked across the Middle East.
Steps have been taken this year, 2015, to regularize and normalize the relations between the government of President Barack Obama and the country of President Raul Castro, and the United States and Cuba. It is our hope, and we would like to say this to the U.S. government, it is our hope today that the relations of the governments of all countries in the United Nations and of all governments in Latin America and the Caribbean should be based on dialogue, respect, acknowledgement of who and what we are, so that once and for all we can turn the page on a history of coups and anti-revolutionary steps and policies. 56 years of economic blockade against Cuba must come to an end as soon as possible. The financial and economic blockade must be lifted.